Hello, good evening to you. I want to welcome you to this broadcast. This brief discussion tonight. I just want to quickly talk to us about something critical about ourselves, especially Africans. But I want to focus on the Nigeria, issue. You see, I am really, really disturbed for Africa, even if we know that some kinds of revolution are coming. But the pain is when you discover that the sabotage is so much that you just have to, you have no choice but to wonder what kinds of people we are, and which is really painful. I want to really talk about what is happening in Nigeria, because Nigeria is supposed to be the fundamental place where things are supposed to take drastic change, and there should be a very, very, rapid change, especially because the tribes we have trapped in the narrative called Nigeria are tribes that are very intelligent people, very knowledgeable people, very talented people, gifted, making headway all over the nations of the world and doing great things all over the nations of the world. And it's so disheartening to know that in spite of how gifted the people who are trapped in that narrative called Nigeria, in spite of how gifted they are and contributing to world success, global impact, and making so much all over the nations of the world, we have come to discover that it is really amazing that not just because they are gifted, not just because they have what it takes as whether human resources to carry out great things all over the nations of the world, but because they are also blessed with natural mineral resources that would have complemented their ability to be successful all over the nations of the world and to do great things further and to be the best in the world. It's painful. Now, if you come to Nigeria, if you go to Nigeria right now, you can smell suffering. You can smell suffering. You can smell it that people are suffering. You can tell that people are suffering. Now, when you look at the behavior, of an average person who calls himself a Nigerian, you begin to wonder, how come? Why are people, in spite of their suffering, their pain, their circumstance, their situation, they still want to call themselves Nigerians? Now, because I think that you don't need to go to school to understand why you became a Nigerian. You don't need to go to school. You don't need to get a university degree. You don't even need to be a primary school leaver to know why you became a Nigerian. It is all over on the internet. It is all over. It was taught by, these things are clear. You became a Nigerian because the British Empire came into the territory of your father or motherland and began to take your people as slaves, began to take your resources, began to, kill you, maim you, suppress you, do all they did to your forefathers, your ancestors, and then decided to now name you Nigeria in 1914. And they made it clear that the reason why they decided to name you Nigerian is not because they are interested in your welfare, because if they are interested in your welfare, they wouldn't have in the first place killed and enslaved your grandparents, your ancestors. They wouldn't have maimed and raped our women, caused so much atrocities. They wouldn't have come to take our mineral resources, our natural resources, taking them to their own land to develop their places and cause their own places to develop at the expense of our place. They wouldn't have, even if they want to do business with us, they would have done business normally, legitimately, get the resources legitimately, take to their place to develop, and then also help to see that it is a mutual benefit thing as they are developing, they are also teaching or helping our people to understand that these mineral resources are useful to them so that they can also benefit themselves, and help also to support that it is a mutual benefit. You are gaining, I'm gaining, I'm helping you to develop, you're helping me to develop, and we all are thinking about everybody, not just ourselves. Now, it is not rocket science to understand what Nigeria means. And so it becomes very shocking that we have people who understand how they became Nigerian, not because they were born Nigerians, not because they are from Nigeria, but because a group of people who are a particular nation came into your land, invaded your land, and say that your name will be Nigeria. Since 1914, it has been so. Now, when you come to the point of realization that somebody stole your birthright and somebody had decided to give you a narrative that is not you, and when you come to that point of realization, I think the normal thing to do is to make change, and then become, who you are, and change the narrative of who you are. But here we are now. People come to understand these things, and yet they still call themselves Nigerian. Now look at what is happening in Nigeria today. Look at the man who was elected governor of Lagos State. However he was elected, we can't tell, because elections have been rigged right from time since even before 1999. Elections were rigged because the British, even when they conducted election for the so-called dispensation of independence, what they call independence, the sham stuff they call independence, they have actually been rigging. They rigged on behalf of the North, because they feel that the North can be puppets, and they can use the North actually to correct. They can trust the North, or an average Northerner, to override and take responsibility or control the administrative operations of Nigeria and the government of Nigeria that they created, because they believe that the Northerner, an average Northerner or a Fulani, is not indigenous. So naturally they are not indigenous to the territory that is called Nigeria. So whether the Igbo land, the Hausa land, the Yoruba land, or wherever they are, and so they also came to steal. So on behalf of them, they will also steal for them, and also because they know they are not there legitimately. So if they are stealing, they would want to continue to be allowed to steal, so that the British also can continue to take what they want to take. And then as much as the British has the opportunity to take what they want to take, they also, since they are standing on behalf of the British, they can also take what they want to take. So it is about continuing the process of plundering the people, the indigenous people, and stealing from them. And this is fundamental. This is common sense. You don't need rocket science to understand what is happening to you. And here you are now with this information, but yet you don't want to liberate yourself. Now look at it. Last year, an election was conducted, 2023, and a government comes in under the APC administration and all of that. And now they have turned the people poor. The hunger in the land, you can touch hunger right now in Nigeria. In fact, more than 80% of the people now are living in abject poverty. I'm talking about not just poverty, abject poverty. And more than we talk about more than 80%, more than 10% of the people are living in penury. Abject poverty, penury, which means that 90-something% of the people are very poor. Right now, some people, majority of them are begging and suffering. What is saving so many people is that they are in the village and they can do 1-2 things, but yet they are suffering because they can't get their basic completeness of their basic needs met. The people are suffering. Now, I want to bring your mind to what made me come up to talk about this, because you see, it is shocking that we can have nations who claim, like Britain and other nations, who are stealing, using their oil companies, stealing the resources in Nigeria, continuing to steal the resources, and then funding terrorism, funding unrest, so that they can continue to have a situation of plundering the people, plundering the resources of the people, and taking what belongs to the people, and all of that. And of course, they want the unrest to continue. They want the Fulanis to continue to invade the land of the people. They want commotion to be everywhere, so that their companies will be stealing and the people will be busy struggling for life, struggling for survival, struggling to live, struggling to do what is good for them. And so as they struggle, they are being dealt with and they keep struggling, and so they are not conscious of what is theirs. They are thinking of survival, they are thinking of their life, they are not thinking of before you talk about controlling your resources or resource control. Are you not going to talk about your life first? Wouldn't you have to live first before you talk about resource control? That is the situation that is in Nigeria. That is the situation. The people are struggling to live, to survive, and all of that. They are so weak now that they cannot even speak for themselves. Now, this is a situation now that we can get the definition of that situation based on what was said by one of the politicians in the House of Assembly. Now, I don't need to call the name of this person, but this picture you see on the screen is the person who spoke, and you can go look for the video. I'm not going to play it on this platform. You can go look for the video and hear what he said. Now, he was talking to the president of the Nigeria contraption, and he was talking about the hunger of the land, that if they don't stop the forthcoming protest is going to backfire. They need to do some things to stop the protest. And did you know what he said they should do to stop the protest? Now, he said they should slash their salaries. They in the House of Representatives or the House of Assembly, Senate and the House of Representatives have slashed their salaries. The executive also should slash their own salaries. Now, what is the benefit of slashing salaries to feeding over 180 million people who are in abject poverty and hungry? Is it the slashing of salaries that would feed these people? Now, yes, slashing of salaries is important. But now, can you imagine this? Now, he is talking about salaries. He's not talking about allowances. Now, the salaries of the so-called politicians is just, let's say, about 2% or 3% thereabout of their total take-home package or take-home package every month. They have a package of allowances, wardrobe allowance, newspaper allowance, entertainment allowance, different kinds of allowances. They seem to be buying furniture every month. Furniture allowance, wardrobe allowance, so many kinds of, and those ones are running into hundreds of millions. Now, the salary is just in tens, which means I think the salary is about, I can't remember now. I think it's between 2 million and 4 million or so. But their allowances are running in hundreds of millions. He didn't talk about slashing allowances. He's talking about slashing salaries. Very technical and very professional in delivering. And the average Nigerian who is not knowledgeable will say, oh, these people are talking good. And now, the purpose of doing that is, he also revealed. He said the purpose of doing that is to bring about temporary solution. What is the temporary solution? Those who want to protest will say, okay, they have slashed their salaries, so let's go and rest, let's go and sit down. Now, how does slashing such kinds of monies, from the salaries of about 360 people or thereabout in the House of Assembly, and then in the Senate, how many now? I can't remember how many they are there. It's not my business, because they are just there still eating the resources of the people and stealing the resources of the people and frustrating the people. And then the executives, how many are they? And then everybody slash their salaries. Now, we are not talking about the allowances. They are not. If they have said, let's cut off allowances, no more allowances, and then let's take our salaries like that would have been different, because the average person who is working in an office deals on a salary that is so small, including the allowances and everything you put together. You discover that it's very small. It's not even enough to take care of their basic needs. Now, they are in there taking the salary that an average worker does not take, and then taking allowances beyond anything you can imagine, from an economy that is, of course, viewed poor, because it does not reflect, in spite of the resources and what the people have, it does not reflect on the lives of the people. So if you come to give us the GDP, this and that, all of that, and it does not reflect on the lives of the people, you are only deceiving and manipulating the system. Now, he's talking about such kinds of things. Now, did you know what he said? He's also talked about slashing fuel price. Now, is that the problem That is not the problem. The problem is that the policies of the government and the constitutional arrangement is the frustration in the so-called administration called Nigeria. Why not cause Nigeria to be dissolved? Because it was not created by anybody. And then even if you don't want people to stay together, you allow people to come and talk and discuss, how do we stay together? How do we want to relate? Are we going to operate a federal system or confederacy, a confederacy or a federal system, or are we going to operate a unitary style? Whatever thing you want to decide, you decide. Then how are you going to run the resources? Is it going to be resource control? Every territory controlling their resources and all of this. You talk how you want to exist, how you want to live together. We're not saying that everybody, if you don't want to go, of course, the best thing for everybody to go, all tribes to go, to do, is everybody to go. Because the truth about it is that as long as you continue to stay as Nigerians, the Fulanis are controlling the Hausa land. They want to invade your land through Islam, using Islam as a tool. And they want to come into your land. They can penetrate your land to kill your people anytime. Because under Nigeria, you don't have your definite territorial control. No, you don't have your state cannot control its territory, because all of you are under Nigeria. So anybody could enter any state anytime. But if you are having your own nation, you can secure your borders from these attacks, from these Fulani terrorists coming in, sponsored from the Sahel, coming into the territory. Now they can come into the territory of the Biafrans or the territory of the Yorubas, because there is no border. You cannot stop them from coming. You can't stop anybody from the north to come into the south, because there's no border, and because you're all Nigerians. But when Nigeria is broken, the people who are in the south can protect their borders, so that the criminals coming from, and the terrorists coming from the north, coming from that place, the Sahel, into those places, will be stopped. Then you could secure yourself from this evil that is coming. And these are the issues. Yet, nobody wants to talk about them. Even the so-called Nigerians are weak. They believe in sustaining Nigeria than having their total freedom, like what is happening in Niger Republic, what is happening in Burkina Faso, what is happening in Mali, and all of that. They don't want their freedom. This is the time to take it. I'm going to stop here for now. I'm going to give more details about this particular the talk that man brought up in the House of Assembly. We're going to talk more about that. And please, we must begin to rise up now. We must do more than just protesting. You know how they kill you when you protest. This time around, it is to take it in another dimension and get ourselves operating in a more professional manner. We must come together and reject Nigeria. And we can do that without bloodshed. We can do that without any of us dying. We can do that by just wisdom coming together. And all we need to do is to agree to do the right thing, which of course is very simple. My name is Kelechi Ambrose. I appreciate you. We'll talk more about this matter some other time. Thank you.